Hello, everyone. This is Nada Helmy. I'm an entrepreneurship specialist, and we're filming this from Cairo, Egypt. Today, I have Mohammed AlNobani, the co-founder of The Middle Frame. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Nada.
How are you?
Good, fine. How are you?
All good. So this is actually a very special episode because today we're going to be talking about the Palestinian startup ecosystem prior to the war, of course. So let me ask you first about your startup. Tell us when you founded it, what is it about, what you guys do?
Definitely. The Middle Frame started in June 2021 when I met my co-founder and business partner, Raya Fatayr. She came to me during a fellowship about entrepreneurship, and she pitched the idea of having some kind of a stock image platform for the Arab world. I had my doubts because I've seen this concept by others trying to do it, and I knew that it had its own challenges. But both together, me coming from an advertising background, knowing that the gap is there, and Raya being a photojournalist and a photographer herself, I know that she understands that supply very well. So together we discussed how can we fit in this market? How can we close the gap? And we decided to take the risk and go forward with it. So summer 2021 was the real beginning, but we started officially working in the first quarter of 2022 to have a platform for the photographers in the MENA region where they could sign up, upload their images, where we could maintain the heritage, the culture of the Arab world, and at the same time, sell the images to the content creators, the marketing teams, and even the editorial images for news publications and media publications.
Very well. And where were your headquarters exactly?
We started in Ramallah, in Palestine. And that was the beginning. We went through programs in Palestine and Ramallah specifically. We had the support from the ecosystem. And more recently in October, luckily we met the team of Flat 6 Labs in Jordan. And that's where we decided to slowly take the office towards Jordan rather than keeping operations in Palestine.
So let me take you a few steps back. So when you guys opened the startup a few years ago, can you tell me more about the support programs you were talking about? So are there incubators, accelerators, investors in Palestine? What's the ecosystem like?
It's a very early stage ecosystem. We don't have a lot of incubators and accelerators as the rest of the world knows. But we do have certain organizations that are trying to implement programs. For example, Flow Accelerator hosts Orange Corners Palestine, which is only in 16 countries around the world. So we got that support. We had Gaza Sky Geeks. Sadly, today it's no longer there. And we had a couple of programs such as IPST, Ignite. So not really accelerators, but incubator programs more for an early stage startup.
Did you feel that there's a certain sector where Palestinian startups are focused based on, of course, the needs of Palestine?
Definitely. A lot of the startups tried to fix the local problems. And that was a problem on its own because it wasn't scalable. We would fix something that we only face in Palestine where the rest of the world don't know about, such as the checkpoints, for example. There is a startup that actually managed to create similar to Google Maps, but only to check the traffic on checkpoints. So that was not scalable by any means at that point, but they kept on going and it was very helpful to the community, for example. But we also see some international concepts too.
For context, can you tell us a little bit more about checkpoints for viewers that may not understand the concept?
Definitely. So for example, myself, I'm originally from Jerusalem, Beit Hanina, and Raya lives in Ramallah, her family lives in Nablus. So for me to cross and see Raya, supposedly it's 15 minutes. However, it takes an hour and a half due to the checkpoints. And if she wants to visit her family, it takes her a couple of hours at least, with the risks as well on the road between the cities. So the checkpoints are basically to block the way. And it's unexpected. When do they open? When do they close? According to the situation, according to everything that happens.
Okay. So other than the checkpoints, you said that a lot of the startups are trying to focus on their own problems. What about the investors? So did you, before the war, of course, did you see a lot of investments going on in Palestine or?
Unfortunately, it was always seen as a high-risk market. And of course, it's understandable. It is a high-risk market. So we didn't see a lot of investments coming into Palestine. Usually, the investments would come in to take the startup out of Palestine. However, what I respected about most of the startups that went out of Palestine, they kept certain operations running. So they would move their headquarters, for example, to the GCC, but they would keep the main office or part of the team at least running in Palestine.
Interesting. So I know, Mohammed, that you coincidentally moved to Jordan right before the genocide. But before that, I want to understand how were startups like in Palestine, like the ones that are still there? Is there anything that's still operating?
So my fellow startups that I know were actually doing better than I know. They had revenue on monthly basis. They were scaling. They were looking for their next market, and all of a sudden, sales stopped. And that was with a lot of startups that I know. Right now, they're looking for a way out or to fix the situation. And but there were success stories, and we noticed success stories. If a startup can make revenue and sales and be profitable in Palestine, I think they can do it anywhere.
Agreed. Okay, so beyond the startups, I want to talk about general business as well. So what is business like in Palestine? Is it like you've been to so many different countries? You've been to the GCC, you've been to Egypt and a lot of Arab countries as well. So do you find any similarities between Palestinian businesses and elsewhere?
It's a very different ecosystem and a very different market as well. The business runs differently. The regulations are much more strict. The taxes and everything is horrible, because it goes through multiple governments and it goes through.
I'm sorry. Can I just stop you in this section? So you said that the taxes in Palestine, they go through Palestine and Israel as well.
So basically, it's especially when you're importing products, for example. If you're dealing with hardware, it's a nightmare. If you're a software company, then you're probably registered out of Palestine. But then you cannot really transfer money into Palestine. Because if you're, for example, registered in Delaware, then you cannot transfer money to Palestine. It's blocked. There's no way to transfer money. So how are you going to operate? So those small challenges are major. Because eventually, you try to find a solution around it, and that is just one thing. Other than the logistics, other than the regulations that are placed by the government, and where are you operating? Are you operating for Palestinians in the West Bank? Or are you dealing with Palestinians in Jerusalem?
So what's the difference?
That falls under a different government, unfortunately. And although it's the same community. Prior to the middle frame, I had a marketing agency where I was dealing with clients in Jerusalem. And then I wanted to deal with clients in the West Bank. And both together did not really work with the taxes, because then you cannot really file. So you have to deal with it in one way or another. So there's a lot of complications also on a personal level. The number of identities that we have within Palestine is too complicated to understand, to be honest.
What about the bank system in Palestine? How's it structured?
Surprisingly, it works. For example, once I was using my debit card in Jordan, my Palestinian debit card, and my Lebanese friend told me, "Where is this card from?" And I was like, "From Palestine." It's like, "It works here? Mine doesn't even." So yeah, the banking system is working. It's just that, especially right now, it's disconnected from the US market, for example, for startups who are registered in Delaware. That's an issue.
Great. So tell me about the people in Palestine. So are there, I know, for example, in Egypt, we're very good with media. We're very unique when it comes to media. So what do you feel is unique about Palestinian entrepreneurs and sectors in general?
Honestly, we're really good in tech. I'm not a tech person, but I'm more on the marketing and management side. But what I noticed is there's a lot of tech talents, software engineers, UI UX designers, and at the same time, people who are digging deeper into artificial intelligence and all. So those talents are being outsourced to international markets, to international companies, to US companies. And that tells us a lot that if our startup ecosystem had an open door, we would have achieved much more.
Okay, so post-war, so for example, I've seen Basan. I think she made a video a few weeks back saying that her office was, it's not there anymore. So I want to understand, how does that feel as a business owner, someone who has put blood, sweat, and tears into something and actually see it physically fall down, not just all the the actual physical stuff, you know?
True.
I want to understand what that feels like. Of course, you know so many different entrepreneurs that must have faced the same thing.
Very true. It's very hard to see, like for a person that you know or you don't know. Even for Gaza Sky Geeks, like when we noticed that what happened to their office, we knew that this is just the beginning, and that was the beginning in October. Once we started seeing that those are the mentors that were helping us on a daily basis with our own business do not have a place to go, it hit us hard. And when we saw our fellow entrepreneurs, we lost one of them, and it wasn't easy.
And
losing an office, yes, and losing a business, yes, but losing a person, that's nice.
And on a personal level, how are you still focusing on like, I know that you're not in Palestine right now, but of course you have so many families there and friends and everyone. So how are you just keeping things going just for yourself, you know, like beyond everything else?
It takes a lot. And you do have to block your emotions on certain days, because you know that while you're doing this, you're helping more than just being sad or just being involved in the whole situation and in the emotions, where if you were still there, you're not helping. But you have the chance. Like we were lucky enough to get the chance to get to Jordan, to get to Plastics Labs, get another investment, scale further, and right now I'm in Egypt, so I'm lucky enough to still be able to be here with the market. And that opportunity we need to make use of to help again. And especially with the middle frame, we feel like this is our goal. Our goal is to spread the word about our culture, not only in Palestine, but the whole Arab world, and to break the stereotypes, because the whole thing that happened and what the media was able to disrupt during the past 3 months was due to exposure. So if the middle frame succeeds, then we achieved something.
So speaking of traveling, do you find any challenges traveling with a Palestinian identity?
Honestly, I have a Jordanian citizenship, and in Jerusalem, it's occupied, so we don't really hold any Palestinian documents, which makes it more complicated. It makes it more complicated for people to understand. We also don't have any other citizenship. We have a Jordanian citizenship because my father was born in Jordan, and we were lucky enough to have it. My fellow friends in Jerusalem, they have no citizenship whatsoever, most of them. They just run with different paperworks. And it is challenging still, because there are high regulations. If I leave Jerusalem for a very long time and I try to go back, there will be a lot of questions asked. So right now I'm trying to stay connected with my family, visit them as much as I can, but at the same time I need to operate the business and keep it up.
Okay. So what are you wishing for the next few months?
Personal level, of course, the success of the middle frame to keep on going. As for in general in life, we just hope that we do see the ceasefire happening.
Definitely.
It's no longer humane. It was never humane for decades. But especially today, we're seeing it live and we kind of can't do anything about it. So it feels really horrible. And we hope that this is what we achieve in the next few months at least.
What do you want to tell someone, you know, maybe living in the other part of the world that is seeing a lot of the images online, is starting to have more awareness about what the situation really is about? So what do you want to say to them?
Having lived some of those situations myself at a young age, it's not easy. We've seen things in front of us happening, and what you see on TV hits you harder in reality. So imagine living the situation. So when you see those photos, first of all, thank you for seeing those photos, because it's hard to see. But also, put yourself for 1 second in those shoes and try to live that moment, how scary that moment is, and think of your relatives, think of the people around you, and just be thankful for what you have.
Thank you, Mohammed. It was lovely having you. Thank you so much.
Nala. I appreciate it.